I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Hey, Amazing FBAers. This episode is brought to you by Amazing FBA again, and this time by the private label course written by myself and working with my business partner, Rob Sleeth, and various other people behind the scenes as well. So this course, like every other course, promises to get you launched with a private label product within about 6 months. Now, that's actually slower than a lot of courses promise. And of course, you can go faster if you take big risks and happen to be lucky. You can even possibly succeed as well. So why on earth should you bother with this one instead of another one, or, as well as if you've already bought something? Well, here's the simple thing. My overwhelming experience of 2 years now of very, very hands-on one-to-one mentoring and work in masterminds with some people who've succeeded very, very well indeed, and some people have done almost nothing despite me working incredibly hard and giving them incredible information. The difference is that some people are driven by fear, and I can't really help those people because they will always consume things and do nothing or not even consume things. But there is a set of people that, while there's an extraordinarily tiny percentage of people that will always succeed because they have almost no fear and they are very courageous, and that's the exceptional type of person, it would be remiss of me to create a course that only works for that person. What I think our course works for is the people who have a certain amount of fear and a lack of experience, but who are willing to have the discipline and the commitment to create their own business. And for you, if that's you, this course is made for you. And here's why: because you learn by doing, and because we create a structure of learning things that minimizes the risk so that you don't have to go out and spend crazy amounts of money in one go just because some guy like me on a video has said so. You can spend a small amount of money, maybe 100, 200 pounds initially, just to get a few products out there on a purely retail arbitrage basis. There's not a retail arbitrage course, but it's the way to learn the skills. And then the next stage, rather than going straight into private labeling and putting down £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 in one go for an order, we're going to spend a few $100 on a non-private label generic type product. Why would we do that? Because we want to test the market. We want to get some proof of how to do it. We want to go through the motions of importing or exporting, depending on where you're selling, as risk-free as possible. And you learn by doing. I'm an absolute believer in that. The other thing about the course is structured such that you don't have to learn everything and then go and take action. You learn a bit, you take action, you learn from that, you come back, you learn more from the videos, you go away, you take action, and you learn. So that is the difference, I believe, between how we work. It's baked into our philosophy. It's not just the course structure, but it is baked into the course structure as well. So just-in-time learning and learning by doing, those are the two principles that guide things. And I think that although for me they are common sense, it's not common in the internet marketing space, and it's not common in the Amazon training space. So that is what we have to offer that is different. If you're interested in that, you're in luck, because the course will be launched properly in September for about $495, so around the sort of £350 mark. But we are going to do a beta launch for a handful of people, up to 10 people maximum, between about the 20th of July and the earliest part of August, about 10th of August. And either 10 people or the 10th of August, whichever comes first, we will stop that offer at that point, and that's going to be half price. Not only half price, but you will get to work with myself and my business partner, Rob Sleeth, on any gaps that you find in the information and that you think that you need to know. If we believe that you're right, we will create a video pretty much on the spot for you and add that to the course, and any other resources needed as well, a PDF, a downloadable checklist, a spreadsheet, whatever it is. Also, if you feel that a video or a PDF or whatever is unclear, we will clarify that for you as well. So there's a great deal to play for. Sorry to talk for a long time, but if that does interest you, just email michael@amazingfba.com, and in the subject line, just write interested or something like that in the Amazing FBA private label course. And if we have more than 10 applicants, which I think is quite likely given the interest that I've had from many, many people in the circle of mentoring clients and mastermind members, not without even talking about the wider community of people I connect with, it's quite likely that we may have to ask you to justify being one of the first 10. What we're looking for is a killer success story. So we will work incredibly hard to help you be successful, because it's in our interests as well as yours. So if that interests you at all, michael@amazingfba.com, and then in the subject line, just put Amazing FBA private label course. Thank you very much for listening to what's a rather long pre-roll Thank you for your patience. Now on with the show. Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to the show. Today I'm delighted to welcome back an old friend of the show and a good friend of mine, Danny McMillan, who is an Amazon seller and is, of course, the host of Seller Sessions podcast. So welcome to the show, Danny.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. So, Danny, remind us, for those of you who haven't come across you, a little bit about your background, how you got to be selling on Amazon and what Seller Sessions is all about.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, if I take it back a tiny bit further, I was in the music industry up to about 2008, and then I moved online. And when moving online, we've done a startup, and that was my first taste of working online properly with commerce, etc. Fast forward to 2015, I discovered Amazon FBA, and I haven't looked back since. You know, I found that with all my background skill in PPC, conversion optimization, working online, businesses online, that really helped get me started with Amazon at the very beginning. And in the beginning of 2016, Richard and I started Seller Sessions, which was started out as a webinar, then went into a YouTube channel and a blog, and now it's notable for, like yourself, it's a podcast. That's where the most of our audience resides.
Excellent. You mentioned Richard, so that's your business partner in Seller Sessions, presumably.
That's right. Yeah, he don't often. You may have seen him on some of the videos in the past and stuff, but he's the backbone of Seller Sessions. He does all the show notes and runs logistics in the background. So I'm very grateful to him.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I've got guys that run all of the background stuff, as you say, and uploading episodes and whatever. It all ends up adding up. So tell us a bit more about PPC then. So this is the topic we're going to focus on today. But there's an awful lot, we had a chat about this before we came on air. And as you said, everything has to fit into an overall strategy. And I could not agree more. I mean, I think anyways, just focusing on a magic bullet is lost already. But on the other hand, you know, the details do matter. So one question I put to you, Danny, just to start with then, is a lot of people finding PPC difficult to manage. Is PPC, we're talking about Amazon AdWords specifically, is it actually any use? Does it have a place in 2018 in people's businesses?
I mean, yeah, if we dial it back a bit, every business I've started since 2012, even if they're small ones I've parked, I always start with PPC because I want to know if there's demand there. And if you get good at PPC, which I felt I had a reasonable skill set at, then everything you launch is a quick way of finding out whether there is a market, there is a demand before you start going into organic search results and building off of there. Because the last thing you want to do is spend time ranking a website to find out the keywords that you're using are not converting keywords. They might have search volume, but they may not convert into the type of traffic that you need for your business. So then if we fast forward now and you look at Amazon, it's very important to do PPC, regardless that we've got Databricks, the agency. That's going to be your first stage of appearing in terms of on the platform if you're in a competitive area. Now, Amazon have been changing up their algorithm, which is relating more so now to relevance. So the days have gone of guaranteeing yourself visibility by the amount that you bid have gone. You've got to be relevant. So you can't just do that on non-relevant keywords. And in some cases from our agency Databricks, looking through millions of data points, we've found that if you've got a product, say on maybe a new account or you're in a new category and it's got no sales history and no reviews, that top performing keyword that you're going after may not generate any impressions no matter how much you bid. And so that's very important to understand that, because what happens is some people think it's a category based. Therefore, they're going, well, I must be in the wrong category. So they switch to another category, or they make a complaint to Amazon and ask for the engineers to take a look into it. And we're finding that mainly with new accounts, but definitely it happens when you're moving into newer categories. The money keywords, your main keywords, you may not appear for straight away until you have some level of history. So to me, PPC is an integral role, and I can be biased because I've got the agency, but it's not the only role. There's so many other areas. Like I'm a big advocate of external traffic as well.
Great. Okay. So let's, this sounds like, first of all, very, very clear-minded. I love the fact that you're thinking of it in the round, in the big picture, because a lot of people get very obsessed with, naturally enough, if you're passionate about PPC or whatever it is. So you've just put your finger on one of those catch-22 things. So good to know that bidding high is not enough. You need relevance, and I guess you need activity via those keywords to start ranking for them. But on the other hand, if you're just starting out in a new category or with a new account, then how do you square that circle? Because obviously you won't get shown until you got activity, but you won't get activity until you get shown on Amazon ads, if that's your only way of doing it. So what's the solution to that?
There's two ways of two-way solution here. And if you've got experience with it, if you're doing giveaways with a storefront URL with a keyword, and people buy on that keyword through the discount codes that you offer, let's say you go from Facebook ads with a 90% discount as an example. You take that and to a landing page. The landing page, you go to Amazon and you put in the coupon code, but the keyword in the storefront URL, if that is your main keyword and you make sales on it, then Amazon will see this, and then you would start to get impressions and you would start to appear. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
The other way this can happen as well is that you may find that, let's just say you take a widget and then you have a blue left-handed widget and you convert lots of times on that keyword, for instance, through your PPC. Then you may start to appear for that main keyword because it's showing history and there's relevance through the long tail of that keyword. Now, this is only based on the data that we have. Like, obviously, being an agency with working with large customers with hundreds of SKUs, we've got millions of data points to work with. This is from our research. It doesn't mean that's going to change or stay the same, but I'm just letting the audience know is that there are a couple of things that you can try. If you're not appearing for your main keywords, these are opportunities whereby if you try to go down both of those routes, then that may resolve your issue.
So just to clarify, the first one sounds familiar to me, and we'll need to dig into this a bit. So giveaways via Facebook ads. So it's Facebook ads, 90% discount to a landing page, and then to the Amazon, presumably some URL that's going to help you rank. And I want to dig into that a bit because I know that's very important. And then obviously people put the code in and get their product and you start to rank. That's great, makes sense. So what was the second one? You're finding tell me about the blue left-handed widget approach.
So,
Make sure I understand that.
Let's just say your keyword is a blue widget.
Yeah.
Right? But then you're not appearing for that keyword. There's no impressions being generated. But you are appearing for blue widget left-handed, for instance, as an argument. You might convert on the latter multiple times. And because you're converting on that, blue widget's within that search term. And because you're converting for that, Amazon looks at that and goes, actually, well, if that's relevant, then we can start showing and giving impression to the main keyword, which is widget.
Blue widget.
It will take longer because you've got to rely on getting reviews as well. Or what we feel, if you've got no reviews, no sales history, that's where the problem lies. But if you start getting some sales history and then you're getting reviews, Amazon relooks at this and then there's an opportunity there. As long as the keyword's relevant, then you should appear for it. Obviously, you want to make sure that main keyword's at the nearest to the front of your title. This is anecdotal, but I always put the keyword in the back end. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, and I always make sure it's somewhere else in the listing. So rather than having it as just individual words, I have it as the phrase appearing multiple times in the listing in the hope that that shows up for relevance. But again, we work outside of Amazon and not inside of Amazon.
All right. So when you say you're working outside of Amazon, not inside, what's that?
Well, what I mean by that is that we're doing this is part based on the data that we've got and anecdotal, in the sense that we want to make sure we can appear for that keyword. So we're appearing multiple times in the listing. Most people will tell you that Amazon doesn't work that way, and that's fair enough. You could just be as in single words, and then Amazon would actually stitch the words together to make up the phrase. And that you don't need to repeat terms. That also may be true. Do you see what I'm saying? But we do that anyway, just as a backup procedure. And from that's where we've seemed to have got our results from.
I like your approach because, I mean, the truth is, if anyone knows how the Amazon algorithm works, then they're from Amazon and they're about to be shot by secret agents. So the best the rest of us can do is test things that we think are true. And what I really like, and one of the reasons we got you on the show, is because you have a lot of data to pull on. And yes, your data may not reflect everything in the world, but at least it's a solid starting point rather than just speculation. So really like that. So it's worth going with the guys who've got the data, and they're always the ones that I listen to. If somebody's speculating on Facebook and they say, oh, I've heard blah, blah, blah. I mean, what can we make of that? It may be true, it may not. At least in your case, you've got data to back it up, and that's the best you're going to get in terms of the truth, right?
Exactly. And that's why I'll listen to people like Casey Goss from Viral Launch, because they do 25,000 launches or something crazy a month.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of data, a lot of engineers. Yeah. When they've looked at stuff, I take that on board. I listen to that.
Yeah.
If I speak to Brad Moss, who built Seller Central, I'm going to take on board what he says. I look at Anthony Lee from Zomblast, like what they do. They're constantly testing. Doesn't mean what they've got is absolutely right and it's been shared by an Amazon engineer. But what you're doing is you're going to go to the most likely source with the data, rather than someone on, say, a Facebook group who tested one of their listings and that's what happened. You need to work on the multiples,
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So yeah, we're lucky to have you on the show, and it's fantastic to get you on. So and as always, we know each other well, and we talk quite often. But it's one of those things that whenever you get somebody on the show, and in an interview format, I always find this amazingly precise stuff comes out. So we're going to try and dig for that gold. So tell us a bit more then. So we were talking about so many ways to go with this, but let's talk. Let's talk macro to micro now. So PPC obviously is there to get us sales, I guess, ultimately. So let's talk about, I guess, one key question for me is PPC, let me be more precise, because obviously you're a guy that uses PPC, including Amazon AdWords and also Google AdWords. But if we're talking about Amazon sponsored ads, is that a tool that you would just use for launch, or is it part of ongoing sales? Can it become part of profitable sales? Because we also all know that it can easily take all your profits out if you're not careful.
The thing is, everything is based around different strategies. So if we were to break this out slightly, I've just recently launched a product. I've used Exact Match on 5 main keywords that I want to rank for and just gone hard with it. They're very relevant. They appear, the main keyword didn't appear straight away, to be honest with you, because it was a new product in a new category. And so what we did is we had the long tail ones that did convert, and I've done some giveaways on that keyword to a storefront. Within a week, I was at bottom page 1 for this product. That was with no reviews in a competitive niche on doing the storefront URL and through doing PPC. So you're sending external traffic and you're relying on Amazon system. With that as well, in terms of sponsored ads, that is. With that as well, what I did do is I sent traffic from Google Ads. I used a canonical URL, i.e. what that means is a URL that has the listing with the keywords I want to appear for in my AdWords ad. And I also sent traffic to the storefront page as well. So what I was trying to show Amazon is the different look from different traffic. So at the storefront page, you had the product page, you had the storefront based on the URL where it took them there as well. So it's showing you 4 different looks, plus you add sponsored ad traffic, which is based on Exact Match. And so with that, to give you an example, I was converting every 6 clicks, and this is without any reviews up to this point. The listing's now got 2 reviews as of when we recorded this, right? So the next stage for that is, obviously, we're going to turn up the heat, we're doing more giveaways, see how it appears on as it climbs the page. Why I put this down to you in the main is that we spent a lot of time and effort on the images. We spent a lot of time and effort on the right keywords and the listing, enhanced brand content. So we've invested a lot there, because not everyone's going to convert every 6 clicks with no reviews on a competitive area unless you put certain things in place. So PPC is the main point we come to, is only one facet. Now, to flip that out slightly a bit more, if you're looking at dealing with people with larger accounts, they've got hundreds, you can't necessarily launch that ferociously on main keywords on Exact Match bidding high across hundreds of listings without having deep pockets. So that requires a different approach. So what you're looking is that with the larger accounts, your focus is different. Like we work on profitability. I don't like ACOS in isolation. Yeah. Because the problem with ACOS in isolation, I'll give you an example. If you just focus on purely bringing down your ACOS, we had a client that approached us who wanted us to take them from 40% ACOS to 30% ACOS, which sounds reasonable, right? looking at the data, in order to achieve that, would have had to kill 45 to 50% of their sales. That's what would have happened by shifting down in ACOS, because there were a lot of their conversions were taking place at a high ACOS. So they would have cut off their own nose to spite their face. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we look at return on investment and profitability. So which brings me to my next point is you can't break the math. So if you've got a product that converts every 10 clicks at £5 a click and you're selling for $13.99, that product is dead in the water. Yeah? Because the numbers just don't make sense. Your ACOS is going to be out of control. You're not going to make any money on it. And that's where, if you are going to do the heavy pricing, you're doing it based purely on helping with organic rank and converting on those keywords to at some point that you will back off on spending that cost per click. And you'd maybe look for less costlier keywords if they're available into the long tail. But then still have to be careful that when you're operating in the long tail, that if you've got micro conversions, it's not going to make up your macro, because you want to add that ratio of how many organics you sell to PPC sales. Does that make sense?
I think so. I just want to unpick some of this and make sure that I've got it clear in my head so that the listeners have also got it clear. So first thing is ACOS in isolation a good metric? You're saying no, and I couldn't agree more, because one of the things that doesn't account for really is that you may be driving very expensive sales via your advertising, but that's helping you rank for keywords organically and then driving organic sales. So is there a metric? I mean, for me, I would use the metric of its advertising to sales ratio. So I just add up the entire advertising spend on whatever platforms for a particular period and divided by the revenue for that period, as long as we're assuming they're attributed to those clicks. And that's my sort of main guide. Is that something you use, or do you use a different metric? Overall guide? I
can't, because of the algorithm, I can't go into too many metrics, but basically what we're looking at is what your profits are. If we take it down to the basics, and what you can spend per keyword, and that's the information that's plotted in. But what we do with the algorithm, we have to look at multiple facets of that and determine, like, it's 6, sometimes 7, maybe 20 calculations to get to that. And it's going to depend on the type of listing. Is it a parent listing, with multiple variations with different price points? So there's so many different calculations, but to simplify it, you need to work out what is your point of break even, and then depend on the kind of campaign you're going for. Are you going to go for aggressive? I think what happens when people come onto the platform is they have to be careful of thinking of PPC as a silver bullet, right? And you fall in love with your product, you invested so much, and then what happens is your PPC just don't work on it. It's like our technology can't save a product that PPC just won't fix it. You have to start with the product first. So I think it's always key to people to go back to is get to know what your margins are and base it from that, and how much you're willing to spend. Because some people go, well, I want to be aggressive with PPC, I don't care, and then taper off in a few months' time. Some want to just break even on their PPC, and some want to be profitable. But what I'm trying to get to is that you don't always get to choose that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it all starts with your product selection, and it's working out up front that what your needs are. Because I think that's why we get a lot of people come to the agency, because of the nature of how advanced our technology is. We're able to put it right for them. But if you're in a really, really competitive area and the numbers just simply don't work because your price point's so low, it's never going to work no matter who runs the technology. You just can't jump the math.
Yeah, you can't escape the math. I like it. That's very good. Good reminder. And I love the way you're saying math, dude. That you obviously, I can tell you've been hanging with the Americans. It seeps into the language, doesn't it? So tell me a bit more. So the first thing to bear in mind, I agree, is your product selection and your price point, absolutely crucial. You got that wrong. Please don't come to Danny, or for that matter me. I get people coming to me sometimes to try and launch their product or to save them from a terrible product choice, and I just have to tell them the baby is ugly. I hate those conversations. You must have similar ones sometimes. But let's talk a bit more about launch strategy then, because that, nevertheless, assuming that people have made a big assumption, but assuming people have made a good product choice and that they've bought a quality product at a reasonable price, i.e. it's left some profit margin in, they're well placed to launch. So let's talk through launch more specifically and how PPC pays into that and what other things you use. So I want to come back to what you were talking about, your case study. Let's go back into that and drill down a bit. So you launched with 5 keywords exact match. You were saying, was that on... So first of all, just let's get the bigger picture. Which tools were you using? You were using Google AdWords and Amazon sponsored ads?
Yeah, so we had Facebook ads running to a landing page doing 90% discount codes.
Okay, and what was the landing? Let's line up what tools one would need to replicate this. So it's Facebook ads, and then you went to landing page. Is that on WordPress or is that on page?
What I've got mine is on WordPress, which I developed with a developer because when we launched, it was in Japan last year. This is where we started to introduce the giveaway thing, and there was no launch services in these certain countries, especially like Japan and India. So in Japan, we had to come up with our own platform, which is basically we developed the page a bit cheeky, so it's got, the surroundings of the page. Let's just say the color scheme and the font looks like Amazon, if you like. So it's in a friendly environment. Yeah. And then we used AM's coupon server, which is a one-off plugin. Which distributes the coupon codes. I think it's like $69 or whatever. And then obviously people are collecting the URL from the thank you page. So they get to the landing page and it says celebrate the launch of this product. And then we tell them what the discount is. So 90% off, which instead of you paying, say, $16.95, you pay $169 or whatever it is. Yeah. And then obviously they put their email address in. They press the submit button, like the call to action button. And then what happens, it drives them to a thank you page. And in that thank you page, it gives them instructions on how to claim that coupon code. And within that as well is a link. We use a software called genie.us. And what this does, it rotates the URLs. So we got our 3 main keywords on, when not the exact match for the sponsored ads, but when we're targeting for ranking, we rotate 3 main keywords. So we'll waterfall them by relevance and search volume. So if we were using blue widget, it'll be blue widget, then it'll be blue widget left-handed and blue and black widget left and right-handed, just to give you an example. So you've got your 3 main keywords there. So that would allow to rotate. Now it gets complicated here because we focus on mobile devices only, rather than on desktop. And so
interesting,
because most people are using Facebook on their mobile device, and then we're retargeting because we want to reduce our costs. We don't want to be spending money on all these different platforms when a lot of people spend on mobile, and the integration there is pretty good. So what we do is when we use genie.us, we are rotating the URL based on the operating system. So our main keyword, for instance, would be, iOS for the UK and everything else. However, apart from our second one, which will be Android, and our third keyword will be Windows phones. So depending on what device you're on, you'll get served a different keyword that will then go to Amazon. So that's where it becomes rotating. So Amazon doesn't see blue widget all the time. Amazon sees 3 different keywords being rotated.
Wow. Okay. So this is quite complicated stuff. I know you're a man who likes to do things in a thorough and sophisticated way, because we've had many conversations, but that really is quite interesting. And so what's the purpose of that? Presumably it's to replicate more organic types of searches rather than just send the signal into the algorithm, hello, it's somebody else trying to fake a launch. Yeah.
So basically, look, let's be straight here. At this moment in time, launches are all within terms of service. All of the launch services are using storefront URLs or version of them. There's nothing wrong with giving discount codes and giveaway. People use keywords, they pay these services. These services are still operational. And then that may change down the road. So I'm happy to do something that all the big companies are doing that is deemed to be within terms of service to do giveaways. I don't have an issue with that. I think where people fall over is that they mix giveaways with review manipulation, which is totally against terms of service. I never confuse reviews with dealing with like giveaways. I never put them into the same bracket, because what people do, they start to build review funnels. I don't build review funnels. As I said to you at the top of the show, we ranked with the exact match and a few giveaways. This is all done with 0 reviews. It's got 2 reviews now, but these are based on 0 reviews. So if we come out the block, we don't go after getting reviews. We do that because what we have to rely on is the quality of our product and the pricing of our product at launch as well, which plays another key factor as well. We try and make sure that we're giving a lot of value for money and spend a lot of time on the packaging and everything. And like I said, with the images, to give you a premium product at a fair price. Because I think people, again, get this part confused. They tend to find the costs run away with themselves on a product. Then they go, oh, we'll sell this as a premium product. But you can only sell to what the market demands. You're not Apple. So you can't say go 200% higher than the market. You need to look at your market and say, everyone in the market is saying selling 15 quid. Premium, I can't necessarily always get away with £40, £30. You know, in some people's eyes, premiums is £18. But it's just that jump. Do you see what I mean? But the jump becomes too far. So we have to rely on getting reviews in the sense that we have to make sure we've got a really good, compelling product and hope, you know, it doesn't get damaged in transit and stuff like that. So it's risky at the beginning of the launch to go and get a 1-star, but so far, so good.
So you're basically getting reviews organically and you're focusing really on ranking, and then the quality of your images does everything else. Okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds quite grown up to me, because I think, there are many arguments around this, but certainly Amazon's getting much harder to get reviews. I mean, I'd love to come back on reviews, but I just want to really sort of drill into this little case study. So the tools you've used. So Facebook ads, going to WordPress landing page, using a server with the plugin. Yeah. People have to get their email address. Let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, the more conversion points you've got, the more you're going to have people dropping out of your funnel before they end up actually buying or at least seeing your listing. Yeah. So tell me about getting an email address versus going straight on from there to the Amazon listing.
Well, it's a choice. You don't have to grab an email address. Some people just generate the codes and they're off, and that reduces the friction point. Yeah. We collect email addresses now. What you've got to be careful of now is you've got to understand where you stand with the GDPR and put that in place. I can't advise for the GDPR here. And you've got to decide what you want to do. So if you decide you want to collect an email address, you must have all that stuff in place. So I can't say much more about that. But pre-GDPR, what I was doing, I wasn't following up for reviews. What I was actually doing was asking how people were using the product and if they had any problems. And that's where I got all my insights, because we had a product that had an issue with off-gassing. We caught that just in the nick of time, pulled the stock out and inspected to make sure we had no other problems. That saved us from having negative reviews because we got those insights. We didn't ask for reviews. We gave them their money back, which is a couple of quid or whatever it was, because of the 90% discount. We sent them a free product and a thank you note in return. And we're able, because you think now is that there's an advantage of not being able to get reviews at 90% discounts. It's when problems like that occur.
Yeah. Makes sense. So basically you want to get a direct line to your consumers and find out problems, or for that matter, good things that you need to emphasize, but without going via the Amazon system, basically. So you're going to contact them.
Well, at the end of the day, these are your customers before they've reached the Amazon system. So let's not get that mixed up straight away. Them email addresses you're collecting are yours because they haven't got to Amazon yet. They came to you first, then they collected, after they put in their email address, a discount code to use on Amazon. So at this stage, they're still your customers, not Amazon, until they put that coupon code in.
Yeah, very important. Yes, absolutely. And I think very important to get that distinction clear, and also gives you a bit more freedom of action, because you aren't vulnerable to Amazon terms in terms of service or what have you, as long as it's within GDPR or whatever. By the way, for any Yanks listening, I mean, GDPR, you don't need to worry about this if you're not selling to Europeans. I guess it's for Europeans only. And we have the joy of it's basically around making sure that you don't spam people. But as you said, I don't think either of us said
about permission and consent, isn't it?
Yeah, but basically, I guess if you're following up with something very relevant to what they've done, I think you should be fine. I'm not a lawyer, but then there haven't been any test cases yet, and we live in a common law legal system. As I was saying to somebody the other day who agreed with me, basically until we've got some cases, we don't even know which way it's going. So I think we shouldn't panic too much about GDPR.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where people have gone a bit chicken little about it. So coming back to your launch funnel, and we'll put some show notes, folks, at this. So if you want to hear Danny's interviews, he's done several with us, all fantastically useful stuff. Go to www.amazingfba.com/Danny M for McMillan. So coming back to this funnel, we've got Facebook ads through to a WordPress landing page. People put in their email address, and we've explored what that's about. They go to a thank you page, and then I want to dig a bit more into this. You get to a link, genie.us US, rotates the URLs for 3 main keywords. So that was quite complicated. So it rotates it based on the operating systems of the
device.
Yeah. So just tell me a bit more about why that's important, because obviously that is an additional complication. Some people will be going, wow, I just want to keep it simple. Why bother going to all that trouble?
Well, it's entirely up to you, but even though it's not against terms of service, it gives you an opportunity to rank for other different keywords. Obviously, this will increase the amount of giveaways, so you need to work that out. Then the other side of it, if there is going to be a problem and terms of service changes mid-campaign, at least you're protected somehow. Is that you're sending 3 different forms of traffic through different keywords to the storefront. Okay,
so you'll need to have extra numbers of giveaways to make this work, really.
Yeah. So some people just leave it off. I'm not here to advise. I'm just telling you what I do. So I'm not saying, hey guys, go out and do this. I'm saying this is what I do, and that's my perspective on it. It might come to a point where they go, terms of service will change. Well, that stops the giveaways. That's fine. Just carry on doing with PPC or new ways of working with the system in the future, don't you? That everyone else is doing, as long as it's within terms of service. I think the days of on Amazon now, it's cutting the corner for all like the black hat stuff. So I don't see giveaways in the storefront URL is outside of terms of service when you've got these larger companies that are doing thousands of launches a month doing exactly the same thing on their own platform.
Yeah.
And Amazon hasn't shut them down. So I know you get the naysayers, and I that's cool. I see there's 2 sides to the fence of this as well. You've got the naysayers who don't understand it, and it's still happening. What's going on? Then you've got naysayers who've never done giveaways, who don't want to do giveaways because it costs them money, and they'd rather giveaways didn't exist. Therefore, it's against terms of service. Do you see what I mean? You can have those conversations.
Wishful thinking, yeah.
It's like the wishful thinking. It's like, oh, right, is that what I've got to do now to compete on Amazon and, get ahead of, get my business ahead, or stay in line with the competition and stuff, because it has become much more of a competitive marketplace. So some people might have got on Amazon a few years ago, slung their products up there. We've all seen it. They sell through, and then suddenly more and more people come to the platform. It gets more and more complicated. They want to use the same process of every time, but instead of having to move with the times, they look at the giveaways and they go, oh, right, okay, then that should be against terms of service, or that's bad, because they don't want to do it, because they don't want to invest their money in doing giveaways, because they hadn't had to do it before. They've had a nice cushy ride, it's been nice, they've earned money. But I think with any business, we end up moving, don't we? You have to move with the times, because if you don't, this is where people come into industries and disrupt industries and take the industry over, is because people are not moving with the time. And I think that's an important thing to remember as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. People come into industries and disrupt and take them over because other people aren't moving with times. Nice. It's not quite a tweetable, but it's certainly definitely a nice way of summarizing that. So let's get talking about the slightly bigger picture then. So we're talking about launch, so let's stick with launch for the moment. So we've been talking about the traffic side of things. It sounds like almost your initial traffic launch is from Facebook ads rather than Amazon ads. Is that true?
No, it's a blend like it used to be. I would just go straight out the gate doing the giveaways and then prop up with PPC later. But I've changed it around because I'm always trying to stay ahead of what's going on, and I'm always experimenting with stuff. So I thought, right, okay, let's just put a budget aside for these experiments to see what happens with exact match PPC. Can I do it with this keyword, and how competitive is it going to be, and what kind of money will I spend getting to page one. At the moment, we're residing at the bottom of page one. So it's very hard to tell because the full organics hasn't kicked in. We know that once you're below the fold, the sales are going to be lower than what's above the fold. So the proof for me in the pudding is when if we get to middle of the page or top 5 and see what happens outside the PPC and do the organic sales kick in.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So you're basically the ultimate thing we're after is get organic ranking, really. But just to be clear, so PPC here, you're talking about Google AdWords rather than.
No, I'm talking about the sponsored ads. I'm still
Amazon
running
sponsored ads, right?
I'm still running the Google ads, but the thing is, it makes it difficult to track with the Google ads. You can track and append your external traffic using the store page, but you can't without using a piece of software. That's not within terms of service. You can't track your sales going from AdWords to the product page, right? So they can't be tracked unless you use Amazon affiliates, but I own the product. So I don't play that game. I'm not interested in having an affiliates account. There's a way of tracking sales that way, but if you lose that account and you have problems, it could cause problems later. So I don't go down that route. But so the main configuration that I can track is the sales that have been made from PPC sales through the sponsored ad campaigns. And also I can check on the discounts like the giveaways, which sales are attributed to discount codes.
Okay, so and can track via discount codes. Okay, just trying to make sense here because I know the devil's in the detail with all this stuff. I think we're going to wrap up that segment there because there is either we go into insane amounts of detail and we'll sit there with spreadsheets all day, as I'm sure you do with your clients, as I've done with mine. But I think let's wrap that up. And then the next episode, I'd love Danny to talk about focusing on the sellers with lots of SKUs and, also mention what you guys do at your agency and your general sort of strategic approach to people with large numbers of SKUs. So we'll look forward to having a chat about that then.
Sounds good.
Excellent.